Hello everyone. I welcome you to this solutions session for the ACET practice test 1 conducted by pacegurus.com. I would be taking you through each and every question, solve it and address any intermediate queries that you are coming across. So all the 55 questions we would be dealing in the same manner. So with that, let's get started with the first question. A random variable x follows a uniform distribution, right? A random variable x is following a uniform distribution wherein the value is equal to 1 by 6 as long as x lies between 3 and 9. So f of x is equal to 1 by 6 across the space where x is lying between 3 and 9 and otherwise it is 0. Now the question is on find the value of x squared. If we remember some of the key things associated with a uniform distribution, right? Whenever we are talking about a uniform distribution, we'll see that f of x equal to 1 by b minus a, where a is less than or equal to x less than or equal to b. This is the a typical scenario that exists for a continuous uniform kind of a distribution. Now what we say for this kind of a distribution, if we remember some of the key calculations that are associated, the mean of that distribution or the expected value of that distribution E of x is nothing but a plus b by 2. So in this case 3 plus 9 by 2, which becomes 6, and the variance of x as a formula, if you remember, it is nothing but b minus a whole squared by 12. For any continuous uniform kind of a distribution, b minus a whole squared by 12 is your variance. So 9 minus 3 whole squared by 12, 9 minus 3 6 squared, 36 by 12 is 3. So we know the variance of x as well as expectation of x, but we need expectation of x squared. And using another relationship, variance of x equal to expectation of x squared minus expected value of x whole squared. Now expected value of x we know, variance of x we know. So variance of x is 3. Expectation of x squared is what I have to find out, minus expectation of x whole squared, 6 squared 36. So from here it is working out that expectation of x squared is 39, and that's how I am marking the option choice as A in this regard. So some of the key formulas that you may have to remember, being if at all our distribution is a uniform continuous distribution, we can easily identify the probability density function like this. The expected value of x comes out as a plus b by 2. The variance of x comes out as b minus a whole squared by 12. And another relationship is variance of x equal to expectation of x squared minus expectation of x whole squared. This is how we solve this kind of numericals. Okay, moving on to the next one. If there is a 20% chance of getting 25% profit, so okay, let me put it in a kind of a tabular form. The probability and profit. What we are saying is there is a 20% chance of getting a 25% profit, 30% chance of getting a 10% profit, and the remaining chance, what is that remaining chance? Probably 50% chance of no profit and no loss, which is like 0% profit. Find the mean and standard deviations. Now we all know that the mean is nothing but the weighted average. So 20. So if I have to find out the mean given these kind of examples, it is nothing but 20% into 25% plus 30% into 10% plus 50% into 0%. So obviously this is coming out, either you can use your calculators, otherwise this is 5 plus 3, 8 plus 0. So we know that the mean of the distribution is around 8%. So okay, there are two options, A and D, where the mean is given as 8%. So at least I can eliminate the options B and C because they don't have the mean as 8%. So but how do I decide between A and D? So for that I am calculating the standard deviation. To calculate the standard deviation, we have to find out the variance, wherein we subtract this mean from each of the profits and do the squaring. So 25 minus 8, 17% squared, multiplied with the corresponding probability. 0.2 times 17% squared plus 0.3 times 10 minus 8, 2%, 2% squared plus 0 minus 8, minus 8%. When I do a square, it doesn't matter. 8% squared into 0.5. So this is what will give us the variance. So let me use a spreadsheet to compute the variance. Alright, so my variance is nothing but 0.2 times 17% squared plus 0.3 times 2% squared plus 0.5 times 8% squared. So this is what is coming out as the variance. Variance is coming out as 0.0091, but the question is about standard deviation, and standard deviation is nothing but the square root of variance. So square root of this number giving me around 9.53 or 9.54%. So 9.54% is there as a part of our D option choice. So overall for this numerical, I would be marking D as the answer. Right, so some of the key things in this question, we are trying to find out the mean as the weighted average of the probabilities with the corresponding percentages, and to compute the standard deviation, first we compute the variance, wherein we subtract the mean from each of the possible values, square it, multiply it with the corresponding probabilities to obtain the overall variance, and take the square root of it to obtain the standard deviation. Now moving on to the next question. Okay, rupees 10 from each customer is used towards the bumper price by a cloth showroom. Okay, each customer, from whatever the purchases the each customer has done, 10 rupees from that is being used. 50,000 customers have purchased from that showroom during the bumper price period. So which means from the company's standpoint, it has received 5 lakhs, 50,000 and 10 from each of the customers. So 5 lakhs has been the amount that the company has received towards the bumper price, whereas the bumper price is worth 4 lakhs. So we are talking about, so outrightly, even whosoever gains the bumper price, the company has got a profit of 1 lakh. Means the overall customers group have got a loss of 1 lakh, and we are asking of average payoff per customer. So per customer, the contribution would have been 10 rupees, but what is coming out? So the expense is 10 rupees per customer, but what is coming out is 4 lakhs divided by 50,000 customers, which is 8 rupees per customer is coming in, means there is a net loss of 2 rupees per customer, and that is what we are saying average payoff per customer is -2, wherein I am marking the answer choice D. Right, so all we are doing in this case is finding out the net inflow, the net outflow, and finally looking at the net per customer, and based on that working out our answer. All right, let's move on to the next question. If the coefficients of x squared and x power 5 in the expansion of 2 plus bx to the power 7 are in the ratio 2 is to 1. How do I compute what is the coefficient of x squared? We know that this is bx. So x squared coefficient will come out, we know that the expansion is always of the form 2 plus bx is nothing but, when I am doing an expansion, it becomes a plus b to the power n. If I want to expand, it is nothing but a power n plus nc1 a power n minus 1 into b, nc2 a power n minus 2 into b square. It actually goes something like this, a typical binomial theorem based expansion. So the same logic if I am using, I need to get a 2 here, means I can take a 7c2 2 power 5, a 7 minus 2, 2 power 5 into b square x square. That is the second term, and so this is the coefficient of the x squared term. Similarly, if I am doing the same, the coefficient of x power 5 term is 7c2 into 2 squared into b power 5. So these are the two numbers. So what we are saying is these two are in the ratio 2 is to 1. So 7c2 into 2 power 5 into b squared divided by 7c5 into 2 squared into b power 5 equal to 2. So, okay, some of the quick calculations, we know that 7c2 equal to 7c5 because NCR is always equal to NCN minus R. So 7c2 is equal to 7c5, so I am striking that off. So this left with 2 cube. 2 cube by b cube is equal to 2. So b cube equal to 8 by 2, 4, and b is equal to cube root of 4. This is the answer for me as the approximate value of b. So what should be the cube root of 4? Obviously I can check it out. So 4 to the power 1 by 3 you can do in your calculators, 1.587. So somewhere close to 1.6. So I can mark C as my answer choice. Right. So these again, if these kind of questions come up from the binomial expansion, you can very well go ahead with similar kind of a workout. All right. Let's move on to the next question now. Yeah, this is calculate d by dx. So of the integration between 1 to 3x x cube minus 4t dt. This kind of a form where there is a derivative as well as integral. When both of them are there, of course, you could have solved the integration part and then you can easily come out with the values. But generally, in this kind of a case where there is a derivative as well as integration, we can think of using Leibniz theorem, and we can try to solve, especially because we have two different variables, x and t, and the derivative here, I mean the integration is done with respect to t, whereas the differentiation is done with respect to x. So whenever we have such a kind of a situation, we can solve this kind of problem using the Leibniz theorem. So how am I? How is the what is the way the Leibniz theorem operates? The Leibniz theorem comes out as d by dx. If at all we have any question of this form, where you are doing a d by dx of an integral, where you are having some a of x to b of x as your limits, and your function is having two variables, x comma t, where the integration is with respect to t. Whenever you have something like this, what the Leibniz theorem says is, start off with this. Take the derivative of b of x and multiply this with this function f of x comma b of x. So wherever t is there, you substitute b of x minus, similarly do it for a dash of x into f of x comma a of x. So in place of t, substitute that, and finally now do the integration with respect to x, not with respect to, I mean we take the partial derivative of this function with respect to x and then do the integration. So in our example, it is looking more or less the same. The only thing being a of x equal to 1 means I require a dash of x also, so I'll take it as 0. Then I have b of x equal to 3x. So b dash of x, which is the derivative of b of x, is 3. And f of x comma t is x cube minus 4t. So f of x comma b of x, instead of t, if I substitute b of x, it becomes x cube minus 4 into 3x, which is 12x. So x cube minus 12x is f of x comma b of x. F of x comma a of x, if I am putting, it is nothing but x cube minus 4, because in place of t I am substituting 1. And one more thing which I require is dou by dou x of x comma t. So which means with respect to x, if I differentiate this, with respect to x, if I differentiate this, it becomes 3x squared. So using this information, now let's try to solve for this numerical. B dash of x 3 into f of x comma b of x, x cube minus 12x. You be a little bit slow also, but make sure that no mistake comes. A dash of x is 0 into whatever we are getting, so at least something is simplified for us. And integration between a of x, which is 1 to 3x, dou f by dou x, with respect to x, I am differentiating it, so it becomes 3x squared, whereas the integration I am doing with respect to t. So this, at least the first part is simplified, 3x cube minus 36x, this is anyhow 0, and 3x squared when I am differentiating with respect to t, not with respect to x, so 3x squared is a constant. So 3x squared into t integrated between 3x and 1. So overall it comes out as 3x cube minus 36x plus 3x squared into 3x, which is 9x cube minus, right, 3x squared into 3x, which is 9x cube minus 3x squared. So overall it is coming out as 12x cube, right? 12x cube minus 36x minus 3x squared. So probably if I am taking 3 out, I am getting it as 4x, 3x out. I'll get it as 4x squared minus x minus 12. So which is what is matching up with your option choice D. So especially if we have a question like this where we have a derivative with respect to x, but derivative of an integration which is done with respect to t, then using this Leibniz theorem we can very well solve for this. So it has to be done patiently, otherwise there could result into some kind of calculation mistake and you may have to really fight out there. So have some kind of a practice on this Leibniz theorem. You can take some other kind of numbers also and you can quickly work out on the usage of the Leibniz theorem. But the moment you understand the formula, right, b dash of x into f of x comma b of x minus a dash of x into f of x comma a of x plus integration of dou f dou by dou x with respect to dt within the intervals a of x to b of x. So whenever slowly we are able to solve this kind of numerical, it becomes very comfortable to get 5 marks, especially in this kind of uh, questions. All right, let's move on to the next question. Okay, look at it. If x equal to 5p2 minus 5c2, what is the value of 5p2? npr, n factorial by n minus r factorial, 5 minus 2 factorial. So which is coming out as 5 into 4, which is 20. 5c2 is n factorial by n minus r factorial into r factorial. So which is coming out to 10. So based on this I am getting my x value as 20 minus 10, which is 10. Now it's quickly for me to solve this. X squared 100 minus 2x 20 plus 5, 80 plus 5, 85. Directly I can go ahead with the answer choice as A. This looks like a slightly simpler kind of a question, so I should not miss out on the marks associated with this question at all. Alright, let's move on to the next question. If A, B, C are three vectors whose magnitudes are 2, 3 and 4 respectively, and each of them is perpendicular to the sum of other two, find the magnitude of A plus B plus C. Okay, a slightly easy but a difficult kind of a question. Whenever we have one which is perpendicular to the sum of the other, each one perpendicular to the sum of the other. Okay, let's look at it simply. Let's assume A plus B plus C squared, right? The multiplication of the two vectors A plus B plus C squared. So probably I can write it as A plus B plus C into A plus B plus C. So which is giving me A squared plus B squared plus C squared plus A into B plus C, AB plus BC plus CA, right? Now because each one is perpendicular to the sum of the other, this into this cos 90. So all these terms will become 0. So a plus b plus c whole squared in this case will become a squared plus b squared plus c squared. Okay, so the magnitude of each of them separately. So which is working out to 16 plus 9, 25 plus 4, 29. So the magnitude of a plus b plus c is nothing but square root of 29. So to correctly arrive at the square root of 29, I can solve this, and yeah, it is around 5.38. So the closest option that we have is somewhere around 5.4. So I can very well mark D as the answer. So basically, look at this a small trick. Probably all this is also not required to be done for me, especially if I am seeing that one is perpendicular to the sum of the other. If I want to find out the magnitude of their summation, all I can do is sum of the squares of each of the individual magnitudes and then finally take the square root of that. So in this case I am going with 5.4, which is the option choice D as the answer. Now let's move on to the next question. Again, something to do with the probability and the distribution. X takes discrete integer values between 5 and 10, both inclusive, which means X can take 5, 6, 7, read it very carefully, 8, 9, 10. So because we are talking of one discrete, two integer and inclusive. So the various possibilities for X are 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And it follows a discrete uniform distribution, which means the probability of occurrence of each of these values is 1 by 6. Because there are 6 possible values, the probability of occurrence of each of these values is coming out as 1 by 6. What is the probability that a value chosen at random lies between 6 and 8, both exclusive, both, so it does not include 6 and 8, only 7. So what is the probability of getting just a 7? Straightforward, 1 by 6 is the probability of getting a 7, which means I am marking the option choice C as the answer. So here some of the confusing things, if it is discrete, here sometimes there is a possibility that people will make a mistake here saying each one has a probability of 1 by 5 because it is lying between 5 and 10. Each one is having a probability of 1 by 5. When I am dealing with continuous, yes, each one is having a probability of 1 by 5. But when I am dealing with discrete, where each value has to be looked at separately, each one has a separate occurrence of 1 by 6. So please be careful when we are solving such kind of problem. This kind of detailing out is much more appropriate rather than quickly rushing through the solution, because these are easier to score kind of question. So no mistake should happen as far as solving these things are concerned. Alright. Let's move on to our next question here. If 3y is equal to 4 e power 4x plus 1, find dy by dx. So it's a simple differentiation we are trying to do. So probably I can rewrite it. Y equal to 4 by 3 times e power 4x plus 1. So I can very well write dy by dx is equal to 4 by 3 times the derivative of e power x is always e power x only, e power 4x plus 1 into the derivative of 4x plus 1, which is nothing but 4, and this 4 by 3 times e power 4x plus 1 is nothing but y. So y into 4. So the derivative comes out to 4y. The derivative comes out to 4y. So we have D as the option choice here. So we'll mark D, and that's what will be the simple form of derivative for this kind of a question. Alright. Let's move on to the next question. If the mean of a binomial distribution is 5 times its variance, what is the probability of success? What is the mean in case of binomial distribution? NP is the mean. And what is the variance in binomial distribution? NP into 1 minus P. Just remember the formulas, you can solve this question. NP into 1 minus P is the variance. NP is the mean. And what is the question saying? Mean is 5 times that of the variance. So NP is equal to 5 times NP into 1 minus P. So simplifying it, we get 1 minus P equal to 1 by 5, which is 0.2. From there we are getting P equal to 0.8. So the probability of success comes out to 0.8, where we are marking the option choice A. Alright. Let's move on to our next question.